There is a bathymetric map here, Arrowhead Cove, and what we have is, again, it's 1 of 10. This has only about a foot of sediment accumulation, where the captains in the other 2 boats, where they live, they have almost 3 feet of sediment accumulation, and theirs is the worst cove. Why do you don't want sediment accumulation? I don't have to give you all a lecture on that. You're the environmentalist. You know that along with sediment comes attached are all the nutrients, and therefore there's a big question about water quality. The nutrients support the growth of submersive aquatic vegetation and invasive species. In all of the sediment impaired coves, there's at least one invasive species. In this cove, it's Eurasian water milfoil, and I understand the curly leaf is getting in here, and the broadleaf pondweed is very strong out around that point. One of the problems, I believe, as though the owners of this property, is because they're right across the way from the launching ramp of the state park. Anything that's brought in through the launching ramp, any of the invasive species, comes in and basically gets blown across the cove and settles on their shoreline. So that point was the first place that they really found Eurasian water milfoil. Most of the properties up in there are investment properties that are rental villas. There are very few homeowners that live in this cove. This is a state highway here. The salt from the roads drains into the stream here. The willow bushes over on the left there, that's behind a pumping station for the sewer system, which leaks frequently. We had a 6,000-gallon sewer spill right up in here in June after a microburst rainstorm. It just was beyond capacity to handle it. So we've got salt. The stream's clear. We've done sampling of that stream. That's a nice quality stream, but salt from the road and road runoff, the sewer, another sewer spill, shoreline erosion. You can see the trees falling down. You see this cliff here. Everybody, this is Eurasian water milfoil. This has probably been in the lake since before the state bought it, from what we can determine. It is an invasive species. It is found throughout the lake. There is a map of its distribution in your briefing book. When Bruce Michaels was asked, well, how much it would cost to undertake a control program, he said it's too expensive, it would be millions of dollars. Well, it means that by not doing a control program, then you lose a cove for swimming and boating and fishing.
Can't you do raking? Can't you rake?
No. Look, this whole thing isn't. And if you rake, you break it off, and each one of these stems floats off and reestablishes itself somewhere else. The mechanical removal isn't what needs to be done. Lakes and elsewhere treat this very seriously, and there are chemicals that are used, as there is chemicals being put in the lake for the hydrilla. What happened was they were dealing with the Eurasian water milfoil, and then they discovered the hydrilla and really shifted their focus to that. We were in the 3rd year of herbicide treatment of the hydrilla. It's going well, but it's costly. And then it gets back to, do you prevent it from getting into the lake in the first place, which was the intent of your bill, no more, or do you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year dumping chemicals into what you think is a pristine lake? People come up here expecting not this. And yet this is the most well-known spot in all of Deep Creek Lake. Everybody drives by, comes in, and this is what we're showing our tourists. And the state of Maryland is charged with protecting the natural resource, ensuring ecological balance, and that the highest use for Deep Creek Lake is recreational use. And yet, here we are. Jeff just bottomed out coming in because of the sediment. You can't swim here. And the water quality, we are certain, is very poor. Neither DNR or MDE will have sampled here, even though we have tried. So we're going to do it ourselves. People who live in these coves, we've gotten together and we're hiring somebody to do the sampling for us. Because somebody's got to know. We want to know whether it's safe for our grandchildren to swim here. For the tourist kids who've rented, their parents have rented these spaces. So anyway, sediment is a huge problem. It is a huge cost, but the estimates are somewhere around $20 million to dredge the 10 coves. And you do cove by cove. You wouldn't do it all 1 year. We're very fortunate that we have Secretary Belton has been an absolute pleasure to work with. He gets it. He has supported it. The DNR had been opposed to dredging. He is now has opened the door, and we have changed the Waterway Improvement Fund. So for the first time ever this year, the funds are available for state lakes. Before that, all that money since 1966 or whatever, that's been those excise taxes have never been eligible for the lake. It only went to the bay. So we've one step, but we're going to have to figure out. Waterway Improvement Fund doesn't have enough money, and its money revenues are actually going down. So we're going to have to find another way to get this lake dredged. But each day, each hour, more sediment accumulates, more nutrients, more pollutants accumulate. The worse this gets, the more threatened the local, again, this local business, he'd like to have his dock here through the middle of, for Autumn Glory, which is mid-October. And people are on boats, but he can't. It's unusual it's here this late. So it has direct economic impacts for all of us, and we need to find that $20 million.